I'm going to try and share my screen, if I may, and show you a short presentation. I'll hit share, and then I'll hit presentation. Can you all see that?
Yes, yes.
Great. Okay, so this is me, and I thought I'd just start, and I'm going to go at a bit of a pace. This is a picture and this is the front of Westmill Solar and Wind, the two co-ops. I'm a director of both. And this is when we had raised the £15 million for to buy the solar co-op from the developers. And you'll see the people right there in the front, the landowner, Adam, and his wife, Liz, and Tony Juniper and others. And it's one of the things I want to talk about. You'll see a lot of pictures of renewable energy projects, but the difference here is that it's owned by local people. And that's what I would suggest is here, that I've said that I think that if you're going to have a sustainable energy transition, citizens need to be at the heart of it. And one way of doing that is community ownership. Now, that's not all of renewable energy, obviously, but it's part of community energy. And so I'm going to look at community energy in the UK, what's happening in different parts of the UK, and make some suggestions. This is a graph of community energy in the UK. There's a trade group called Community Energy England. I sit on it, and we represent the hundreds of community projects, and there are 424 that filled out the return. You'll see a lot of solar in the south, wind in the north, and hydro in the west. So that's sort of what you expect, really. So about 319 megawatts. That's not much in the great scheme of things if you compare that with the UK electricity consumption. But crucially, only 8 megawatts in 2020 built. So if you had gone back and looked a few years ago, under the coalition government, there was a lot of community energy being built, and that really stopped because the policy environment changed. And Energy for All, which I sit on as a board member, we now have 31 projects. So we are one of the larger community developers in the UK. So we've got 24 staff, some of them in Barrow, in Furness, and some of them spread around the UK. And you'll see the projects there. You can have this slide pack afterwards if you want. And one of the newest ones there is we've been doing a series of hydro projects in the north of Scotland. And what this slide doesn't say is that we've just announced that we're actually working with some of the companies who do the onshore wind in Scotland, where it's still permitted. And actually, we've been shortlisted to work with those developers to look at community-owned offshore wind. And that would be one of the first in Europe if we actually manage to make that happen. And the model is that we work with communities, and there are other ones around, so it's not just Energy for All, but we help them raise their funds. We help them build the project, because one of the big problems with community projects is everybody's doing it for the first time. And, you know, it's really hard. You need to know how it all works. So we help people build them, their community projects, and we're quite discriminating. So if we don't think you are a co-op, those management fees then help effectively create the next co-op. And every co-op that we create becomes a joint owner in the Energy for All. So Energy for All is owned by its member co-ops and works on cooperative lines. And so some of the examples, I thought I'd give this example. This is one of our projects. It's called Springbock. For the sharp-eyed amongst you who may have seen The Guardian about a month ago, I've lifted some of the pictures from there. So that is a project where we replaced oil-fired heating and replaced it with biomass boilers. But the wood next door is where we get the wood from for the boilers. And so it's coppiced, and as a result of coppicing it, it's brought the wood back into life. And so those are very rare. I think they're called white wood. I've forgotten the name now, but anyway, they're really rare butterflies that you hardly ever see, and they've come back because we've changed it. So I thought I'd just look at a few examples of community energy. This is Salisbury Cathedral, one of the Energy for All co-ops. I'm not just going to talk about Energy for All. is a network of about 80 schools. So we put solar panels on the schools. So it's great. It means it becomes an education resource as well, but also schools use a lot of energy during the day. So it's a great way of not having to sell electricity into the grid. And Salisbury Cathedral has a school, but actually the cathedral also put solar panels on their roof there, as you can see. And this is another example. This is not an energy fraud project. This is Oxford Low Carbon Hub, where my old local authority, Oxford City, provided 3.5 million of council finance, and that allows the Low Carbon Hub, which is a separate community developer, to put in a series of projects, including Sandford Hydro there and Rose Hill School. So again, community projects. And then I thought I'd just touch in the last couple of minutes on some other examples. This is an example in Belgium, where the local authority realized it had out-of-date streetlights but didn't have the money to replace them. And so the community created their own project and adopt a streetlight. They raised €225,000, 400,000 kilowatt project, as I recall, and they effectively relit the streets. Here's another example. This is a wind farm that's a joint venture between local authority and a community project, a community group for wind farms. What was interesting about this was it was a public procurement exercise, and one of the big electricity companies, RWE, came along and said, well, we could have done it for a better price, and challenged the public procurement and lost. The council won by saying, you know, they had set the rules out very clearly at the start, which was quite interesting. And this is a final example. This is in Antwerp and Co-operative, which is an area which used to be the docks and is being made into housing, and they are getting rid of gas. So it's not going to be wired up into the gas system. Can you wire gas? I'm not sure you can. You cannot connect it to the gas system. And instead, they've got a district heating system worked from Agfa, and it's actually a combined heat and power using what would be waste heat from the municipal incinerator. So quickly, I've gone at a bit of a space there. Some final thoughts. So I think that offshore wind is an area where I think we might see some community ownership. I'm part of a group called CIPFA, which is the Federation of European Energy Co-ops. And we are looking at, in several countries, renewable energy, offshore wind. And I think transport, I didn't use an example, but some really interesting examples of where communities have got together to collectively manage car charging, electric car charging. And I thought I'd finish, I'm trying to stick to 10 minutes, with this image. So this is when a group of us, and I'm there on the far left as you look at it, we were in Eifel, in the border of Belgium and Germany, and we were talking about creating a project which has just started, NISIZE, a European project, and it was about a fund that co-ops can borrow from. And we would actually attract money, and then you would have a share offer, which instead of being a share offer for a wind farm like Westmill, is a share offer for several co-ops in several different countries. It's a Belgian co-op, and it was an absolute nightmare morning, and we were working really hard, and so we were all arguing, and so we went out and had a walk in the snow. So what? Well, that place was on the border, and 70 years beforehand, young people of those people's grandparents' generation were fighting and dying on that border. And this is a group here of people. There's British, I'm British and Irish, there's French, there's American, there's Dutch, there's Spanish, there's all sorts of different nations there. And that was about co-ops from different countries working together to create that citizen approach to renewable energy with passion and the energy. And I think that those are the two pictures. I've bookended it with my two favorite pictures. The one which shows citizens in front of a community energy, and this one, community groups from across Europe working together. Thank you very much.